Yeah, the ants telling us something we don't. Maybe they're telling us. Are the ants picking out the ones that are either working or going to work? So yeah. Anyway, back to just about to have a covfefe. Looking forward to the State of the Union address. That should be quite a doozy. Yeah. Yeah, slowly going down, but that's due to the fact of the I'll go to spot colour. Due to the fact of the chalk, you see. So basically, the chalk is like adding your organic matter or your newspaper cellulose in a way to a certain extent. So yeah, the usual thing. You got to fill these things up. So I'm 4 right in the colour grid and 3 down in darkness, but the sun is going in and out. When it's partial, shadows on the ground but not full sunlight, I'm wondering whether I should be 5 right, 4 down, but we'll see if the sun stays in or not. Might be wrong. Oh yeah, by the way, the 6 right, 5 down I did the other day down at Victor Harbour. Yeah, I was looking at it and I was thinking, that reminds me of something. And I was thinking, yeah, I know what it reminds me of. National Geographic in the 1950s. The colour National Geographic. True to life colour, but we got crushed, sort of crushed blacks in a way. Apparently I can control that with this camera if I can just get to learn that before the camera actually dies. But we've had a good 3-year run. 2015, 16, 17, and is that right? Was it? We're into our third. No, yeah, we've had 3 years. Had a good run. So, but yeah, I don't know if you noticed this, but this one, the redness in there, the one with the peat there, you can see it's really getting a really dark sort of red in there. I don't know if you can. Maybe I'll take the lens hood off. So in there and in there like that. So yeah, and that one might be ready to test fairly shortly. But I am, and this is starting to sort of grow. And have you noticed that as things are starting to grow, we're getting this sort of, it might even be a lichen, fellas. Looks like probably an alga or something, but it could be even a lichen. Yeah. Let me see before I put the lens hood back on. What do you think of this trap coming out here? It's not wonderful, but it's quite interesting. For what it is. That's just peat sort of thing. Oh yes, I've started to do a few things. Don't laugh. Yeah, have a look at this. Can you see what that is? Well, it's probably not, because you can't tell what it is because it's not wet. But I put one in. How do you recognise it? Yeah, it's a fishing tackle weight. So, because we did discover that, the wedges you get out of axes, they're zinc metal usually, but these are fishing tackle. These are lead. We found that lead and zinc were quite good because they presumably generate reductive flammable gas when you drop them in the water. And I'm thinking, maybe the Romans used lead pipes for other reasons. So we'll see what happens. So presumably that's going to generate a little bit of reductive flammable gas around the thing, but just go and look at your seawater breakdown. You might want to look at your seawater breakdown. So you see how much magnesium is in seawater, and then how much potassium is in seawater. And some of you may get a shock when I say that all potassium salts are mildly, very, very mildly radioactive, because they've all got a naturally occurring radioactive isotope in them, of course. So it might come as a shock to some people. But then you think, what does lead do in the radioactive sphere? Does it shield things? So it may, a mild dose of radioactivity probably has no effect on the plants whatsoever. But what about on the microbial level? Things, if you get hit by a radioactive particle, there's usually 3 basic types, and You know, to a plant, it's just like a sting or a prick with a pin or something. You know, you're getting pricked with a pin or something like that. You can recover from that. But if you're a single cell microorganism, it can either knock you around, damage your DNA, or probably kill you. It could even kill you. But then again, if you have shielding, that could change the whole microbial environment around the root zone and things like that. What happens if the plant absorbs that particular element to actually shield its root zone, so that the organism will prefer, or actually not be inhibited by the so-called low-level radioactivity in the soil from the potassium salts? Look, as I said, I refer you to look up the breakdown of seawater. So you've got places that have been inundated by large inland open oceans. They'll have a percentage of potassium in that soil, and you might also want to look up the percentage of the magnesium that's in seawater that would presumably also be in that soil, and it might tick a few boxes. So it may seem laughable on the surface, but we might get a surprise, and it might actually start to end the whole story, you know, bring it to a nice, neat, ribbon bow sort of ending sort of thing. So I've even put one in there, but it's under it's like down near the rhizome and in the sand, so we'll see how we go. But look how. Have you seen plants looking like that? Or if I go to Spot Cullen, am I on Spot Cullen now? If I go to Spot Cullen, have you seen plants, you know, offered for sale and things like that, with absolutely no colour in the traps, being offered for sale as though they're being albino or something like that? I'm thinking, makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. Anyway, so we'll see how we go. But if we're going to start getting a surprise. Now, normally it takes what did we say, was it about a month or something to build up numbers in a bottle from a zinc wedge or something in a bottle. It used to take like a month sort of thing on average. So give it another 4 weeks. So basically end of February, basically, almost into February now. So it's only 28 days in a month. So by the end of February, we might get a response. If we get a response from all these ones that have the might not get any response whatsoever, you never know. But then again, what happens if it affects the whole pot? You know, could a single lead weight, angular weight, sort of slowly affect the, you know, because it sort of prevents inhibition. The organism starts growing up, starts, you know, building out, takes some of the element with it. So as the organism grows out, it takes some of the protective element with it, and then suddenly, you know, you get spread right across through the whole pot sort of thing, sort of concomitant mining from cell to cell to cell to cell through the whole, you know, slowly over time. And if they grow at an exponential rate, it could get through the pot, and burn, and sort of look like you're burning the way steel wool burns, you know, sort of. And suddenly the soil is totally changed and is inhabited by the red organism sort of thing. So, and then it's got a whole pot volume to work upon, and then transfer back to the plant if possible. So it's not just a little rhizosphere anymore. If the organism can be made to grow right through the whole pot, you know, maybe it will return to Caesar what is Caesar sort of thing, and sort of say, okay, this plant is allowing me to grow through the whole thing. I will now, you know, impart, you know, what it wants, and suddenly you get a massive plant sort of thing. I don't know. I just say that, so fellas. Anyway, we'll see how we go. But yeah, funny weather we've got here today. You know, the whole rest of the week's going to be like winter weather. Like yesterday, it was like 19 degrees, which is, you know, the 17-19 diurnal wobble here in southern Lamb. Over in WA, it's 21, 23, always slightly warmer. Remember, every 10 degrees rise in temperature, you double the reaction rate, and vice versa. Every 10 degrees fall in temperature, you halve the reaction rate. And of course, depending on whether it's an exothermic or endothermic reaction, of course. So anyway, so that's about it. Nothing much doing, but except it may be laughable, but we might get a surprise out of it. I mean, you can reason it out. We are the land of the inland sea, you know, the vast. We've got rivers in this country that have been spewing out tons of salt every single day of every single year for basically hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years. And the first explorers actually used a simple hygrometer to work out that was the case, and also to use the hygrometer to work out which tributary of a river they were in. If it was not a salty river, they weren't in a tributary of the salty river, sort of thing. So they could actually work out which branch they were on, and they used that to navigate and to save their lives, basically, too. In one particular situation, they actually used the hygrometer to work out how much salt was in the tributary they were on, and to work out they were going in the wrong direction, and actually they sort of self-rescued themselves and got back onto the right branch of the river and survived, of course, to tell us the tale. So yeah, this is a river that actually dumps tons of salt into the water from the land every single hour, every single day, every single year, and it's been doing this since we had these big massive inland seas. So you might want to put that in your back burner as well. Just think about that, you know. It may all seem so far-fetched, but all the dots are starting to coalesce, and I will put it to you that eventually we're going to crack it. And of course, when you do put science on firm foundations, that's when it actually works, and the science works really well and really quickly, but it only does that when it's built on firm foundations. If it's on shaky, it doesn't work at all. It's very hard. It can't work out anything, basically, if it's not built on firm foundations. But anyway, we'll see how we go. And might get a surprise, because I might put one in there too if they get some joy from that one. We might be able to put that back about 6 months. You never know. Get it going back the other way. So they're getting smaller and smaller, get it to go larger and larger and bigger, and yeah. So we'll see how we go. Simple, cheap, easily available. And you don't even have to put it in a pot. You might just have to put it into a bottle of water, sort of thing, and you just sit it in the water, and you sit the water in the bottle, and you just water your plants with the bottle of water that's had the lead weight sitting in it overnight, sort of thing. You might find, actually, like the candle, it takes the copper out of the equation. Absorbs the copper out of the water, sort of thing. So if you do have municipal copper in the water to protect against cyanobacteria in the water, and therefore producing their toxins, which are dangerous to the common public, sort of thing, by removing that, you can allow these other things that normally would be dangerous to actually grow in the soil and form a symbiotic relationship, if at all, if that is the problem. You can't grow the plants because the organisms that normally grow in the soil don't grow because of the stuff they put into the water. But in using a candle or something like that, or most people use these expensive reverse osmosis devices to take the copper and other stuff out, you may not have to do that. You may just have to put your water in a bucket or a bottle and stick one of these, and of course, it may be a bit like anything like that works like this. It could be, it doesn't have to, because over in WA, I remember the larger, half centimetres chunks of quartzite sand around the area used to have noticeable chinks or little reflective, what's the word of iron sulfide in them, sort of thing. And of course, you've got other sulfides as well, like lead sulfide, galena and things like that. And what about antimony? That's another one that sort of acts in this sort of way, sort of metalloid sort of thing, that people used to actually put in their body as a plug to get rid of parasites, and then they poo it out the other end, and they pass it from father to son, to grandson, sort of thing, using the same piece of antimony that old granddad used to use, whenever he felt a bit crook, sort of thing, and wanted to get rid of parasites, sort of thing. So, the fact that it could sit in the bottle doing its thing for 3 lifetimes basically, and it's still there as a reasonable sized chunk of something like antimony, galena, or something like that. So a very so-called low reactive, non-reactive sort of piece of armoury, I suppose you might want to do. So it might be something like that. You just it would be funny if that was all it was, the simple solution. All you had to do is have a lead weight in your water supply, just a little one, and it works for at least 3 lifetimes. You, your son and your grandson growing carnivorous plants or something. It would be funny if it turns out to be that's all you have to do. You know, it takes the copper out, does other things, has a little bit of reductive flammable gas in the system, and it's enough to get the particular organism that you want to grow on the roots or in the root hairs around the rhizosphere to actually grow there. You know, yeah. Yeah, you neutralise all the medicinal voodoo that they do to keep the water fresh and malleable. And you get the organism that you want for the plants to actually grow and flourish and thrive. I think that's the problem. We don't have any flourish and thrive with our CPs, you know. And the only way you can get anywhere towards that is to put in like a reverse osmosis unit. And to me, that seems to be a bit like cheating in a way. I mean, no, I'm not going to collect rainwater. Well, I'm just going to take the municipal stuff and take the crap out using a reverse osmosis thing, and hope that I'm taking the right stuff out and leaving the right stuff in. I don't know. Do the hokey pokey sort of thing. I don't know, but we'll see how we go. We might get a surprise, and we might rapidly get to the end of our journey very quickly. Suddenly, all the bells and whistles and lights go start flashing and go off, and all the dots, like stars in the night sky suddenly align, and suddenly there's Alpha Centauri. It's over there. That's where we need to be heading. I don't know, but we'll see how we go. But might be laughable, might do absolutely bugger all. But we do know in the bottles it does promote the growth of our red organism. And it's very effective, and it's at least, if not slightly better, than zinc metal. So, but remember that lead is in a particular, in the electrochemical series, it's below copper, I believe. So, whereas I think zinc is above, so there may be a subtle difference there due to the fact that lead is on the lower rung sort of thing, and it crosses over that special line that they have on the electrochemical series. I'm going to have to read my old books and brush myself up on it. If we do have a success, I'm going to have to do a lot of back reading and go online and just sort of go through some of those prod me and poke me lectures just to fire the old neurons up. Neurons? Richard, you barely got half a brain cell there now. Okay. I know. It's a joke for Robert Gibson, by the way, if you were wondering, in case you were wondering. Anyway, we'll see how we go, but maybe the meat ants who are attacking these things are giving us a heads up before we know that we've got a heads up sort of thing. Maybe all the ones that they're going for and one that they're not touching, or it could be counterintuitive. That one will work and all the ones they're going to don't work or have some problem with them. So anyway, because this one here flashed fastest within 2 days. It was going red, and now it's got signs of